left alone to do this video on what's going on with the Don't Say Gay bill, or so it's called. First off, I want to tell you something. If you read the bill, it basically, to put it bluntly, tells schools you will no longer discuss sexuality without the parents' consent, and you won't do it in primary school grades. Okay, you know, when you're a sophomore in high school, you get into what they call it now, human sexuality. When I was in high school, they called it sex ed, and we pretty much mocked it. I mean, look, if you're 14 years old, you already kind of know how things go. Okay, they don't teach you what you really need to know, which is morality, virtue, and self-control and discipline. But I think that's parents. I think that is in the purview of discipline. Look, schools have a job to do. Reading, writing, arithmetic, that's it. All right. Now they've become a place for brainwashing. And when you've got a 5-year-old learning about gay stuff, that's just a place, I'm going to say it, and I have gay friends that'll back me up, a place for a certain bunch of people to groom children into that lifestyle. That's not what you want to be doing. Hey, White Phoenix. And what's really weird about this is that when you look at it, when it comes right down to it, it's awfuls. Affluent, white. Hey, Jonathan. Affluent, white, female ultra-leftists doing this. They're the ones that, that fly the banner of, Black Lives Matters, Antifa, and the LGBTQ XYZ, I don't give a fuck parade. Okay? And right now, you saw the headline from Variety. So basically, Variety went and found a bunch of people within the company, they say, who are pissed off at Bob Chapek for basically saying, we have a responsibility for everybody. We are not getting involved with this. Valiant Renegade had a great discussion with Cameron today on his channel. I suggest you go watch it. It was Chapek's Kobayashi Maru. If he does one thing, he's screwed. If he does another thing, he's screwed, so he doesn't make a decision. Okay. Perfectly fine, perfectly acceptable, perfectly fine business statement. And when you look at the bill, it's very easy to read. You don't need a PhD to read it. Hey, Rave Girl, you don't need to have worked for a congressional representative to understand it. You don't need a law degree. Basically, in a nutshell, it's telling schools that parents are the ones that basically control what their kids learn. Okay? And it takes away that discussing sexuality in school, which, I'm sorry, this shouldn't even have to be a law. It should just be, But when you've got look, the left thinks they own your children, okay? Your kids are not yours, all right? Now, that was tried in a country called Germany in the 30s, and that didn't turn out well. Tried in the Soviet Union between 1917 and 1990, and that didn't turn out well. It's not turning out very well in China, all right? Their one child per household law has come to bite them in the ass, okay? Now they have negative population growth. Now they don't have enough women because guess what? Families wanted boys, they didn't want girls. Okay? Think about that. All right? It doesn't work. Okay? It doesn't work. All right? Morality is not the purview of Mrs. Flounster in the 3rd grade. Now, she can enforce discipline and she can, she can talk about right from wrong, but it's mommy and daddy who talk about thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not lie or bear false witness, honor thy father and mother. They're going to teach that in school. They're not going to teach that in school. Okay, so let's talk about the bill. It's a very thin thing. It's I don't know, it's like 5 pages long. I'm going to tell you a story. When I was working for Dick Armey in the House, the last big thing he did is he had to be the head of the Homeland Security Appropriations Committee. Basically, it was the committee that created the Department of Homeland Security for the House. He was the chairman. He was not happy. He did not think we needed that, and he was right. So we did, let me go back, 2002. We were doing testimony. Our office was here at the Cannon 301 and Cannon House office building. And the Cannon caucus room was right there. Here you go. Here you go. Anybody testifying in front of Congress and in front of that committee would come into our office, and I would basically kind of show them where things were, talk to them, and if I had to keep them entertained, I'd keep them entertained. One time I'm sitting at my desk, a door opens, I look up, and there's the Secretary of Defense, Don Rumsfeld, standing there with his arm out because he'd broken his arm. Like, holy shit. That was intimidating. We had the Secretary of Agriculture, we had, J.C. Watts, the congressman from Oklahoma, come in. Tom DeLay would be in there all the time because he was on the committee. And he and I had long conversations about a lot of stuff. Nancy Pelosi, I have been eye to eye with her a couple times. She's as crazy. She was as crazy then as she is now. All right. And my boss always took advantage of the fact that he could trigger her, and it would be funny. We would laugh. We had a lot of different people coming in and out. So it would be in where they set up the committee chambers. They would do their testimony and everything, but it was like a go-between. It was convenient. So the bill passed that committee. All right. It went to the floor. It went to the House. Went through the Rules Committee and everything, and it went to the floor of the House. It passed. This is it. Union Calendar number 368, HR 5005. Report number 107-609, Part 1, to establish the Department of Homeland Security and for other purposes. Let's see, I'll tell you who was on it. Mr. Armey for himself, Mr. Hastert, the Speaker, June 24th, 2002, Mr. DeLay, Mr. Watts, Mr. Cox, Ms. Price of Ohio, Mrs. Cuban, Mr. Tom Davis of Virginia, Mr. Blunt, Rob Portman, Adderholt, Aiken, Mr. Ballinger, Bob Barr of Georgia, Mr. Bass, Mr. Bayreuther, Mr. Baylor, Mrs. Mary Bono. You go all through this, but they're all listed. This is what it looks like. See how thin it was? Passed the House. This was the bill on June 24th, 2002. Okay, so we've been having people testifying in front of that committee for months. Okay, This thing gets passed in June. November 12th, 2002. In the House of Representatives, let's see, it turned into HR 5710. Now, who in the chat knows what happens once the House passes a bill? Where does it go? The Senate either introduces their own bill based off the House bill, or they take the same bill up and they debate it. It goes through their committee, their Homeland Security Committee, and then it goes to the floor of the Senate. And 90% of the time it needs 2/3 majority to pass. So that bill passed, okay, in the Senate. Then it needs to go to conference. So you've got Dick Armey and I think John McCain for the Senate and other various notable congressmen and senators coming together to hash out the bill that they will vote on in the House and the Senate that will become law of the United States, establishing the Department of Homeland Security. This was the bill that passed November 12th, 2002. Mr. Armey for himself, Mr. DeLay, Mr. Watts of Oklahoma, Ms. Price of Ohio, Mr. Porton, Mr. Mac Thornberry, good guy, Mr. Gibbons, Ms. Harmon, Mrs. Tauscher introduced the following bill pursuant to House Resolution 449, referred to the Select Committee on Homeland Security. Look how thick. That's what happens when you get the U.S. Senate involved in anything. Okay. Army walked in to the office and dropped it on my desk, and it sounded like the Bible hitting the pulpit. Boom! It is. I mean, look at this thing. Now, I don't know how the Florida state legislatures run. They are bicameral like our House and Senate. But I'm going to assume that the Florida legislature will come up with their own bill. Maybe it'll vastly improve the Florida House bill, or maybe it'll make it weak. I don't know. But it is in the Senate right now. And again, it is not don't say gay. It doesn't attack homosexuals at all. What it does, well, that's this year Department of Homeland Security. And trust me, they think they've made improvements on it since. This is 20 years ago. All right? 20 fucking years ago. Okay. Let me explain. The bill that Ron DeSantis and the rest of the Republicans in Florida putting out there is merely taking power away from the educators, whatever they are, and giving it back to the parents on this. This is a serious matter. Oh, they did? Good. The Florida Senate passed it? Good. Good. And that's all it is. It's just merely saying the parents should be leading on this, not schools. And it takes, look, when I was a kid, my sister Chris, who was a fourth grade teacher, she's retired now, got a bunch of teaching tools about homosexuality for her fourth grade class, grade 4. My brother Jim and I were appalled. Okay. Again, Chris is an awful. What is an awful? An affluent, white, female, ultra leftist. Those kids did not belong to their parents. All right. Those kids were, and as far as she and my oldest sister were concerned, were owned by the state. Okay? So she could teach those kids anything she wanted. And because of the way we've centralized the education system in Washington, D.C., thank you, Jimmy Carter, not, we can't seem to dislodge teachers like this. And I do mean it. She's my sister, I don't care. If you're not going to teach kids life skills to make them productive members of society, how to add, multiply, divide, it disturbs me a great deal. I don't have any kids. And if someone said, well, you don't have any right to say it. You don't have kids. Honey, I have to live in the world with your kids. I have every right to say it. Okay? All right? I have every right as a citizen of the United States to sit there and say, I don't like the way you raise your children. All right? Or did not raise your children. Okay? I mean, look, there are plenty of inner city teachers who look around and say, parents out there look to us to be babysitters. Think about it. I don't remember this when I was in grade school when the Department of Education was created. And you're right, hard work. I don't remember this all going on when I was a kid. I mean, even back then. I mean, and there are plenty of Democrats that are pissed off. I mean, let me explain. They just recalled 3 school board members in San Francisco, because they're basically liberalizing enrollment in the best high school in San Francisco so morons could go to it. You know who got pissed off and started digging their heels in? The Asian population, the Japanese that live there, the Chinese, the Thais, the Filipinos. Let me explain something. Asians are very disciplined. They go to school to get good marks, all right? Now, are they as creative as, your average C student? Your average C student, George Lucas fan? No, they're not. I mean, Elon Musk wasn't the best student in school, but he was the one with all the vision, and he was the smartest. You don't have to get the best marks to be the smartest. Trust me, I know straight A students who are fucking morons, okay? But the thing is that those parents look at the hard work that they saw their kids go through, that they would not be allowed into that school because those spots were taken by morons. Okay. That's kind of a shitty thing when you think about it. That's why those, and they were all angry women, recalled. Okay. Our system is based on merit. All right. Bob Chapek is merely saying we are not getting involved with politics. You have a good place to work. You have a safe place to work. You have a way to complain if someone bullies you. We're not going to change that. Okay? They're not going to change that. However, all right, we're not getting involved with this either way. Again, Kobayashi Maru. And oh, by the way, Ron DeSantis is a very popular governor in Florida. Okay? A lot of people voted for him. All right? Donald Trump lives in Florida. All right? Florida is a pretty right-leaning state. And if you want to piss off, yep, you're right, Bullseye, piss off your customer base, attack Ron DeSantis and attack this bill and completely shape a false narrative around it. It's not an anti-gay bill. It's a pro-parents bill. Okay? I don't want somebody like my sister Chris talking to my 4th grade kid, if I had one, about sexuality. I don't want her to do that. I don't want her anywhere. Actually, I wouldn't let her anywhere near my kids. Why? She's crazy. All right, she's lied about a lot of things in her life, and she's not a good role model or a good influence. All right, how's that? My own sister. But these are the people screaming right now at Ron DeSantis and this bill. All right, now I'm going to say this will probably go to the Supreme Court, and who knows what's going to happen then, because I guarantee you there's going to be a gay organization, or the ACLU even, will take it to the court. They'll take Florida to court. No, she's not. She's just extremely far to the left and extremely angry and resentful. And she did something to my parents that I really have a hard time forgiving. Okay. And, that is between me and him. All right. But, it's, my mom would always bitch at me saying that, well, you just don't want to talk to her, Mary, because politics. It's like, no, not just that. Not just that. Okay. When you've got people in your family who have done something really shitty to your parents and they don't take responsibility for it, they feel guilty, but they're not taking any responsibility for it. That kind of says everything. Okay. And that's them. Okay. There's a reason why I can't stand awfuls, and it's them. Okay. They're misandrists. They're anti-American. When I was a kid, they loved the Soviet Union. Now they hate Russians. Wow. Boy, did that change, huh? You know, and they're probably absolutely buzzing and seething with anger over this. All right. That bill has nothing to do with, it's not anti-gay legislation. Read the fucking thing. But the question is, can these people actually understand it? It's very simple language. Very simple language. But, your average awful, like Patricia Arquette, is ignorant, they're bigoted, and they're stupid. They're stupid, okay? You can get great marks and still be a dumbass, okay? It's true. You can get great marks and not comprehend what a paragraph says, okay? The legislation is very straightforward, very simple, very straight to the truth. Well, that and, it's just, well, I tell you, this one, I mean, this one is so full of gobbledygook, it's nauseating. Okay, this is the bill that passed in November after conference. This is the bill that came out of conference. This is the bill that went to Mr. Army to sign it. I have the picture somewhere. I don't know where they went. I have pictures of that. I was there that day. It went somewhere. They're somewhere. And McCain signed it. Then they took it over to the White House for President Bush to sign it. Okay. But that's in Washington. Now, again, this bill is not anti-gay, but the narrative says it is. Because, look, again, these people don't want you to have any control over your kids. All right? There's a reason why you've got girls wandering around now. Yeah, they do. You're right, hard work. There are, women running around now with purple hair that are massively overweight who think they're this or this. This bill protects children from being given puberty blockers when they're 7 because, I want to be a boy. And she's a little girl, 7 years old. She doesn't even know where her own fucking nose is. The teacher's like, good, we'll give you puberty blockers and we'll tell your parents. That's what this protects the kids from. It protects the kids from being abused by teachers. Okay? All right? There are decisions out there that only the parents should make. So, are we going to see like woke shit coming out of it? Maybe. But, I always challenge people on that side. If you want gays in space, why don't you just make an opera yourself? All right? The reason why they infest Star Wars, Star Trek, now Lord of the Rings, etc., is that they're incapable of being creative on their own, and they have to get in. They're parasites. All right, that's what they are. They're parasites. And Chapek said we're not getting involved with this. The Twitter idiots, Twitterati are screaming. You've got, Variety interviewing employees at Disney, and I doubt anybody spoke up. Look, one of my good friends, this is always a shocker too. When you tell some awful that, my gay friends agree with me, they get pissed. They don't understand how, they can't logically think that a so-called conservative, and I'm not, I'm a classical liberal, would have gay friends. All right. Just like the Pharisees couldn't believe Jesus would sit down with and have a meal with sinners. All right. That's it. I mean, they're pharisaical on this. But I don't know a gay who doesn't agree with this bill. I don't. One of my good friends is actually the guy who started the Log Cabin Republicans. All right, which is the gay kind of club for the Republican Party. All right. I don't understand what it is so hard for people to understand that teachers have a job to do, and it's not giving kids puberty blockers and not telling parents about what's going on in school. Okay, I mean, look, teachers don't go after bullies in school. All right, they don't. I mean, you get my nieces. I have a niece who's got special needs and will get bullied in school. Teachers fucking did nothing. Nothing. Didn't, clamp back at the bullies. They're useless. All right? They don't do their jobs. They want to infest your kids with a bunch of shit they don't need to know. And then get offended when parents go, okay, we're taking that part of education back, because it's not education. It's about teaching morality and teaching personal issues that don't they don't there's I mean, I forgot my point anyway. But what does this have to do with filmmaking? Because it's in everything. I mean, from what Andre and Tom said, they're using woke shit subversively in the new Batman movie. All right, I have to get more information, but apparently Zoe Kravitz is freaking out at Christopher Nolan because he wouldn't hire her. And he's basically calling him a racist. Fuck you, bitch. Just fuck you, okay? You know, that shit has to end. All right, but this is why I talk about this. Because it's in Star Wars. We've got Vice Admiral Gender Studies. The fuck does she have to do with Star Wars? What the fuck? Created by a guy, Ryan Johnson, who doesn't know fucking thing one about Star Wars. Okay, only there to undermine 40 years of lore and narrative. Okay, fuck you, Ryan Johnson. Fuck you, okay? We've got Rose Tico sermonizing Chairman Mao at Canto Bight. And a sub, that whole subplot should have been cut out. All right, that whole subplot should have been cut out. There was no reason for it beyond Ryan Johnson and Pablo Hidalgo egging him on, getting their Maoist, left-wing fascist views out there. Okay, that's all it was. All right, and everybody knew it. Everybody knew it. There's nothing mind-blowing about that movie. It was transparent. Okay, I mean, look. Let's go into George Lucas. George Lucas goes to bed every night thinking, Richard Nixon's hiding under his bed. Hey, sci-fi universe, Richard Nixon. All right, old hippies are obsessed with Richard Nixon. All right. The worst of all worst. And Palpatine, in George's words, is supposed to be based on Nixon. Only he's not. Richard Nixon couldn't. First off, Richard Nixon wouldn't have done what Palpatine did. Wouldn't have. All right. When you look at the subtle commentaries about politics, there are a lot in the prequels. It's a lot more damning, and it's deeper. Oh yeah, yeah. Zoe Kravitz is a little shit, and I don't give a shit about her or her parents. Fucking care, Halle Berry was Catwoman. What's oh God? Who's the other Catwoman back in the '60s? Santa Baby. There have been several black Catwomen, so she can fuck herself. Okay. Eartha Kitt. Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Dave. I'm sure Eartha Kitt would be like Halle Berry going, you know, so, Zoe Kravitz or whatever her last name is, or whoever she is, can fuck off. I'm not gonna listen to that shit. Anne Hathaway was a terrible Catwoman. I can't stand her. All right. Her facial expressions are like, I'm like, she's not attractive. She's just weird looking to me. I don't get it. Okay. How she ever got into the club is beyond me because she's not that good of an actress. I mean, when you watch The Devil Wears Prada, you're right, hard work. In fact, I'm going to use that. Meryl Streep ran circles around her. I mean, you can, Yeah, well, that's the thing is, you know, and this is what I think Tom and Andre were getting into, is you didn't realize how woke the movie is until she says that, right? Till that comes out, and then you're like, oh, so basically we've been suckered into this, right? Um, I gotta say, my favorite Jim Gordon is Gary Oldman. My favorite Batman is Christian Bale. My favorite Joker is Heath Ledger. Okay, um, you know, uh, and there you go. I really, really liked those movies. All right, and I'd like to tell Zoe those movies were better than this. Well, it not only takes you out of the movie, it makes you start wondering how subversive it was. You know, the Nolan trilogy is beautiful, right? Really, just I mean, they're I didn't like Batman in 1989, and the reason why is I'm going to say this. People are going to hate me for saying this. I can't stand Jack Nicholson. I hate him. I always have. He's overrated. He always plays the same goddamn part. Okay? Doesn't matter if he's a good guy or a bad guy. He's Jack Nicholson. Okay? Um, he's got that stupid smirking grin on his face all the time. I can't stand that man. All right? And the overacting was appalling. I mean, Michael Keaton was great. Um, you know, uh, Kim Basinger was great. I, you know, but I can't stand him. I mean, oh, and didn't Billy D. Williams play uh, Jim Gordon in that? So we've had, hey Jay, how you doing? So we've had two black Jim Gordons now. I mean, these people don't even watch their own fucking movies. Oh, he played Harvey Dent. Okay, so we had a black Harvey Dent. Okay, all right. Well, just let it go, sci-fi universe. Let it go. It's not worth it anymore. Okay. Um. Anyway. So I do like it when people who think that all roads lead to the sequel trilogy go, well, I hope you're right. It's like, no, you're being an asshole. You're pandering to me. You know, just let it go. I wouldn't even care anymore. He's a weirdo. Hard work. He's a weirdo. There's I mean, I can't I also um I also think that I mean the guys treated women like shit. All right. I mean he was with Angelica Houston, and then he was with shit. She was in Men in Black. Lori. It doesn't matter. Anyway, but he's not a good person. He's not. And yeah, Don, I think we've established that everybody's yeah. So I just didn't like that movie that much. I liked Prince's music. I thought I went to it once. I was like, okay, fine. Well, the only time Tom Cruise was any good was when he played the studio executive in in that Tropic Thunder movie. That was funny. That was hilarious. When he's dancing and when he's screaming in the phone at the terrorists, I was laughing so hard I couldn't stop. I mean, that was good acting. But I'm like, you know, uh, it it's really interesting, watching. You don't know how these actors got to where they got to. Okay, like Jack Nicholson, Tom Cruise. How? How? Brad Pitt, he's a better actor than both of them are, I think. But still, you know, Pretty Boy, you know, uh, I mean, Harrison Ford's been accused of that. And I just tell people, okay, here are several movies to watch. Frantic, Mosquito Coast, um, Regarding Henry, What Lies Beneath, and then come and tell me if he's playing himself. Coast was mind blowing. I walked away going, who the hell was that? Not kidding, because he did not play himself in that. He did not phone that in. He was a freak in that movie. It's like, you know, um, look, just stop wasting your time. Well, he's a better actor than people think he is. A lot of people give Harrison shit, and it's like the only movie. But then you realize the only movies these shitheads have seen him in are Star Wars and Indiana Jones and The Fugitive, which I'm sorry, he should have been at least nominated for. He should have been at least nominated for Best Actor in that. Oh, really, Don? Oh, that's funny. But see, the Tropic Thunder, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. Playing basically Russell Crowe. I laughed so hard when you're watching that movie and you realize that he's spoofing Russell Crowe. Oh my God. Dude, I laughed so hard I mean, he was hilarious. They couldn't make that movie now. Why? Blackface. I mean, anyway. By the way, I did want to say that there is an ST reference in the Celebration poster, but it's way down at the bottom. You really gotta look hard. See R2D2, and see next to him you see BB-8. That's it. That's the only sequel trilogy reference on that poster. I hope that we get back to being able to just make movies. It's really funny. You got Sam Elliott speaking out about attacks on masculinity. Sean Penn, and it's I think Hollywood uh, Hollywood is in an argument right now with itself. Just look, negative people bring people down to their level, and they're not good for you. I always tell people, the optimist looks at the glass of water and says it's a half glass full of water. The pessimist looks at it and says that's a half empty glass of water. The realist looks at the glass and says that is a glass with water in it. Because that's what it is. All right? What you make of it is what I'm gonna make you a moderator, Jay. What you make of it is what you make of it. But to me, this is a quarter of a can of Diet 7-Up. It's a can of Diet 7-Up. That's all it is. All right. It's got some pop in it. Soda. Doesn't matter if it's full or half empty or 3/4 full or 3/4 empty. No. No, this is a can of soda. You're welcome. That's the way people have to start thinking. All right. Does all roads lead to sequel trilogy? No, they don't. Again, for the trolls and the cheap seats, I'm going to say this: you cannot have Heir to the Empire and the sequel trilogy in the same breath. You can't. Okay. It's but look, there are people out there that want it to be that way. All right. There are people out there that, and I'm not calling out, and I'm not calling anybody out, but yep, cheap seat trolls. But there are people out there who want it to be that way. And that's just the way it is. They need it to be that way. Look, if you've got in a poster for Celebration one character from the sequel trilogy and it's this big, and it's a robot, it's a droid, that says something, okay? I wouldn't have had that character in there, but they put it in there just to, Reynaldo. I mean, so, and it's not profitable, it's not financially viable, but if people can't really understand and don't understand that it's not financially viable to do that, because it's not, there's nothing we can do about it. That you can't get them convinced. All right. There's it's just like this stuff with Ukraine. Well, I think Bob Iger, I think a lot of this stuff started under him, to be honest. He never would say anything bad about Kennedy, but you see a lot of stuff that now we know is happening. It started back then, okay? Favreau creating The Mandalorian. Favreau basically reviving the franchise. Favreau bringing back Luke Skywalker. The Gina Carano fiasco. That was one of Kennedy's last cries of whatever, okay? Now we've got her losing Children of Blood and Bones to Paramount. She was nowhere to be seen on the set of Indy 5. Now, I'm going to assume she was there when it wrapped, but no pictures of her. Nothing. The only picture we've seen of her in the last few months since last October is a picture her husband took of her in a winter jacket, wearing the same clothes and mask she wore a year ago in June up in northern England. The exact same thing. It's very strange, all of this. Everything is very strange right now. And, it doesn't look like the acolyte's going anywhere. In fact, I'm pretty confident, just from what Mike and Valiant and Cameron have been saying, that they're not going to make the acolyte. There's no money in it. I mean, look, the poster does not feature the High Republic. Okay? And there's another hint. There's no High Republic on it. Let's see. There's Luke. There's Darth Maul. I assume Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Darth Vader. And I think Palpatine. But I think that's actually Obi-Wan. All right. I don't see now that I think about it, I don't see Palpatine in that at all. So it's Star Wars. You've got Darth Maul from the prequels. You got Luke down at the bottom. Gradually goes up. And really what that poster's saying is that Darth Vader is what Star Wars is all about. Anakin Skywalker. Okay, there you go. I mean, you don't really need that really explained to you, but there are people out there that do. And, you walk through a store like Ollie's, and wherever you live, if you have an Ollie's, go and take a walk through. Look at the books, look at the comic books, and look at the books themselves. There are tons of stuff from Soilo, a Soy War story out there. Got a huge $50 coffee table book. It was sitting there for $9. I didn't want it. Nothing with awful air and yuck. Nothing. I don't want that shit anywhere near me. I want it. I'm the biggest Han Solo fan out there, but that is not who he was and is. But there are other, but the comic books, there were piles of them. Now they've since disappeared, so I'm going to assume that a collector went and bought them with the idea that someday they'll be valuable. I mean, that's why people buy that shit. But there are still Rees from TFA that were set out there in last November that are still there. And Rees from TLJ that are still there. All right. It's the sequel trilogy is not viable financially. When you look at what these movies were supposed to make, $2 billion, $2.3 billion, 2.5 or more. Each, you got 7, 8, 9. Progressively supposed to make more. You're looking at them going, they made progressively less. In fact, TLJ made half of what TFA made. And The Rise of Skywalker made 300 million less than, that's okay, Jay, 300 million less than TLJ, all right? That's not good, all right? That's, if you're a financial person, you'd be like, this is a money pit. Okay, then you've got the Star Wars Hotel. Could you go to that? Who here wants to go to that? Nobody, right? Hey, look, if I'm spending $6,000, I better get my money's worth, okay? And I'm sorry, there's nothing there that's worth $6,000, okay? I'd rather spend the money on that buckskin corridors gelding that I want, okay? All right? I'd rather spend the money on something like that. Something that would make me happy. All right, not a dumpster fire, okay? It's Disney can afford the sequel trilogy, and I don't understand when people say, well, they're not going to spend any more money trying to fix it. Who said anything about trying to fix it, you fucking moron? This is what they're spending money on something else that's going to bypass it, that's going to replace it, that'll make people happy, okay? It goes with, we're not going against our customers anymore. Yeah, yeah, it's not for me, you know. Oh, that's awesome, Greg. It has nothing to do with the ST making money because it didn't. It has nothing to do with spending more. Spending. I mean, this is how stupid people are. It costs too much to fix it. They're not fixing it. All right. I'll give you 2 pieces of paper. This is the ST. This is Mando. See? They're bypassing it. All right? They're not. That's the only way I can say it. They're not spending money on it. They're not going to spend money on. Are you kidding me? Okay, so they're trying to get people to buy Mando multi-packs with Ray. I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't buy it. I don't want a Ray. If I was to get a Ray, I'd put it in the fire pit. All right? She would go in the fire pit, just like Admiral Holdo did. All right? And disappear into the ether like all witches do. But anyway, I want to tell you guys something. So this Christmas, my husband went to the Phoenixville Gun Show, and there's a lot of wacky people that go there and sell stuff. And a guy wrote this book, Dimitri Karas. So here's the book. And it's basically, oh shit, there goes. I also got a Biden sticker that came out. But it's about a kid who walks through a village, seeing people going about their lives. He thinks they're doing it wrong. So I'll read you this. Here are the illustrations. All right. Next, the boy came upon a farmer. The farmer was selling tomatoes at the market. Why are you selling tomatoes? The boy asked. Don't you know that food is a human right? So it should be free. But how would I support my family if I have to give away my work? Without another word, the boy began screaming, Nazi! Nazi! There's a Nazi here! Again, many villagers heard the boy yelling. They came running to help. When they arrived, they were confused. Finally, one villager said, That's not a Nazi, it's just Tom. He is a Nazi, replied the boy. He's trying to sell something that should be free. And I think it employs help him pick the tomatoes. So he's stealing them from them by making a profit. The villagers were annoyed with the boy. They walked away shaking their heads in disgust. And it just goes on and on until the boy gets his ass kicked. Then we have the Motley Clique, Hunting the Great White Racist, a parody of Black Lives Matters. And it's basically when, it's signed by the author, we just got this. But, the illustrations are great. We've got the lesbian, the Indian, the tranny, the awful, affluent, white, female, ultra-leftist, the Mexican, the gay guy, the Asian dude, the Muslim, the Jew, and then the black guy. See? It's pretty funny. And then we've got, to think that I saw it on CNN Live, a parody of the mainstream media. This is old, but there's Admiral Holdo. It's just, I haven't even looked at this, but, yeah, so, this is that mocking the world we live in. Those are the people that, have tried to ruin Star Wars. And the fact that Bob Chapek is like, we're here to make money, and we're not making money right now because we're pissing the customers off. There you go. His responsibilities to the investors, they're not making money either right now. That's a big deal. They haven't, what, paid dividends in 2 years? That's something to think about, all right? There really is something to think about. It's, and right now, I'm going to tell you something. Even with my gas card at the grocery store, I paid $4 a gallon yesterday. $4. There you go. They're gonna have to do something. All right, they're gonna have to do something. The world is starting to realize these people like this are irrelevant. All right, the don't say gay bill or the parent power bill is what I like to call it. Is just an offshoot of that. All right, we get this bullshit happening in this world when it's too easy, okay? And it's been too easy. No, it's not. All right, companies need to make money. Orlando, Florida depends on Disney. I hate to tell you that, all right? And if Bob Chapek came out and said, I think this bill is reprehensible, blah, 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 he would piss off customers. Then he'd have a boycott of the customers, okay? So him not saying anything, not taking a stand, is fine. Didn't do anything. The right thing to do. Just have a decent workplace for everybody that works for you and go on your merry way, and that's all you can do, okay? That's it. And I think Zaslav coming in to Warner Brothers is going to follow that. And, they're trying to sell the CW. Well, it is and it's not. We don't have 3 crowned heads of Europe that are fighting. I mean, look, guys, I tried to watch Kingsman. It's horrible. It is a horrible movie. I can't tell you how horrible it is. It's just, I mean, it's bad. Okay, I'm a World War I history buff, and Rasputin. You got the Kaiser being a freak. None of that was true. Okay, none of it. I mean, there are people who saw that movie that don't even know that Rasputin was real, that Wilhelm II was real, that King George was real, that Tsar Nicholas II was real. That's what I hate about this stuff. If you're not going to set it, and of course, the Germans are all the bad guys. World War I, that wasn't true. Okay? All right? And I'm going to say this about what's going on with Ukraine right now. Remember when Padme says to Anakin, maybe we're not on the right side? Think about it. George Soros and Klaus Schwab, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, etc., want us to do something about Russia? Think twice. We're not on the right side then. All right. I've said it before. If Russia had been allowed to come in to NATO in some form, this would not be happening. We didn't remember the lessons after World War II. Pick the enemy up, dust them off, help them out, turn them into an ally. It's been working with the Japanese, worked with the Germans. Anyway, I gotta go. This has turned into a babble session. But as far as people still believing that Mandoverse leads to the ST, you gotta remember they don't understand money. Well, actually, that was not World War One. World War One, only 10 million people died. The Russians committed genocide in Ukraine after Stalin took over, but that wasn't World War One. Anyway, let's go back to what I was talking about. But you know, just say, look, if you don't understand that, there's no money to be made at the sequel trilogy. If you honestly believe that Disney's still, you know, doing what did Einstein say about insanity? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, thinking you're going to get a different outcome. All right. The markets are rational. It's one of the only rational things in human history, in human relations, is the market. And if the market says it's not viable, they're not going to do it. Okay. So if you've got people out there who still honestly fucking believe that all leads to a sequel trilogy, it's only because they want to believe that. And they don't understand finance, they don't understand economics, and they don't understand that Disney didn't make any fucking money on it. They lost money. And if they still, and if they don't understand gross box office versus net, there's nothing you can do about it. So stop talking to them. All right? And if they still run around screaming, you know, Kathy Kennedy's the most powerful woman in Hollywood, why did Disney get rid of the Children of Blood and Bone? She wanted to do it. It wasn't her choice. Don't tell me it was. You know, and don't sit there and try to blame the author. It looks to me that it was being pulled away from Kennedy by Bob Chapek. Okay? All right? And that was last October when that started happening. You know, The Acolyte, there's no movement on that. None of the movies, feature films that she wanted, are on slate. And there was one, I think, that was supposed to come out in 2023. Nothing is being filmed. Nothing. You're right, Euler Greg. Not Taika Waititi's movie. Not Patty Jenkins. Nothing. Okay. Now, is there a Rogue Squadron movie coming? Well, audiobooks, the book about Wedge Antilles, is part of Essential Legends. Now, we've got, I think what we're going to see is the Darth Bane trilogy going to feature films. And if Mando 3 and Ahsoka do well, then we're probably going to see the Heir to the Empire stuff go to feature films. You know, it's just what it is. And to me, it's just a question of time and waiting. All right. And we'll just see what happens. But if it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible for me to see any financial future in continuing the sequel trilogy or the High Republic. You know, I really, really don't see it. Anyway, I gotta go because I'm losing my voice. You guys be good. Have a good afternoon. And, you know, if something else happens today or I hear something new, I'll be back on. See you guys around the galaxy.